So can now target heroes, 3-second duration. I've often thought about this in the past. Now think about what we have. What does Night Elf have? Well, they have Cyclone. Essentially this, right? Very high mana cost, tier 3 upgrade. Talons are worse than Sorks up until their tier 3 upgrade. Is an argument on that side. Fairy Fire, Crow form. Obviously, Crows are a lot better these days, but just as a spellcaster in general, they're worse than Sorks. In both Invis and Slow are insane abilities. They're so good. And to give them the third ability that's now also insane, argument to be made there, but let's start it. Ground level. Talons can disable heroes. Necros can disable heroes. Raiders can disable heroes. Right? And Slow is a disable, but it's not like a fixed disable. You're not in one position. And every other race sort of has that ability. Other than human, on a unit, Slow is one thing, but it's not entirely, stopping damage and stuff like that. Neither is Ensnare, but it can be in a way. So I think it's a cool idea to give humans sort of a way of having that sort of playstyle. Because we've even seen talents against Undead and stuff like that. This could be something we see against Undead as well. Like something like Archmage, Beastmaster, Tier 2 Workshop, get some flying machines, get a couple casters, and then go Tier 3 and get Polymorph. And play like a caster flying machine army. You counter the Destros and you counter the heroes with Sorks. Sundering Blades now requires an upgrade again. Reasonable. Humans been doing pretty well against Undead. I think pushing them in a different direction. Maybe not the worst thing. Is this the perfect way to sort of skew that matchup a little bit? Because Knights are obviously... They're played in Human Mirror, so it doesn't really matter. I suppose in Human Mirror it would incentivize you to play more Tier 3 strats, Knights being stronger, and would... skew us away from Breaker Mirror, which is maybe something that people want. But this is mostly for human versus undead. Is this the best way to change the matchup? There's some undead changes which are purposely for this matchup, but I think this is fine. They've been changing knights around quite a bit. Maybe they haven't found the perfect recipe yet. I think it's a fine idea. I also like the polymorph idea. It's wild. It's crazy, the polymorph idea. But I like it. I want to see how it plays out. The other thing, other than the fact that Sorks are already insane units, like Invis and Slow is so good, and then to give them a third good ability, is you also have Brilliance Aura as a human player. And you also have the ability to fast tech without units as human, just like Night Elf does. Night Elf can tech with one archer and go into talents. That's the classic way to do it. Human can also skip racks and just play Militia with a fast tech. They could do that as well. Orc. Torn and now available in Tier 2. Again, this is maybe arguably crazier than this. Pulverize still requires Tier 3. The issue with Torrens in general tend to be it takes so long and so many resources to get to them. Now, similarly to Mountain Giants, similarly to Destroyers, similarly to probably a bunch of other units, Sorks, Talons, things like this. This is a unit that, in order for them to actually be good, could be an argument, you need Tier 3. Pulverize is really, really important for Torrens. Up until that point, I mean, they're alright. They're going to be the best Tier 2 melee unit, for sure. But you're always going to want to get Tier 3 with Torrens. Right? So this allows you to prepare a Tier 3 army without actually being Tier 3, which is what Headhunters are as well. Then you get the Berserker upgrade and they're done, which is what a Kodo is. You get the Kodo upgrade and you're done. And this is also what, like, you know, a lot of undead armies are. Statues. That's what Talons are. That's what Bears are. You know, you can prepare them on Tier 2, tech to Tier 3, get an upgrade, and then your Tier 3 army is prepared, as opposed to needing to get to Tier 3. This is what Mountain Giants are as well. As opposed to actually needing to get to Tier 3 and start building the units then. Orcs don't have any Tier 3 units left. Oh, yeah, true, they don't. That is weird. That is really weird. And would you need to make grunts anymore? Depends on the opener. Is it a creeping opener? Is it a harass opener? Are you up against a fast expansion and need an early grunt? Or can you just go straight tech? With that being said, there's probably gonna be Farseer fast tech strats where you go 2 Tauren totems and you just build Taurens and win the game. I don't know. This is probably gonna be way too strong. But the idea is there of making Taurens viable via making a tier 3 army more approachable and not having to wait till you're actually teched up to do it. I'm gonna check the bracket really quick. It is live. Super behind. Kratosh, thank you. And thank you, Neo, for fixing the sound thing. Appreciate that. One second. I'm just going to grab a match really quick. Oh. Then we'll finish. Name when ready, please. If not, we'll just go flow for a game if we don't actually physically get into one. Okay, rest of the patch notes. I didn't fix shit. Oh, there's audio playing for the donations and subs and stuff. Oh, I guess there's no message for that. That's why. Wouldn't it still say something? Like Bro Rush gave bits and it said, Bro Rush has given 100 bits. I figured that was you because you were doing a non-cast stream. Neo totally fixed it? Smoke, did you fix it? You have that power, Smoke. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? I actually don't mind it, except for the fact that it repeats over itself over and over again. Alright, so Taurens, this is gonna be, like I'm telling you now, the idea makes sense in a way. Thank you, Neil. The idea makes sense, I get it, but it's going to be too strong. Similarly to this, the idea makes sense in a way, I get it, but it's going to be too strong. But I'm fine with it. Cool. I'm fine. This game's old. Maybe we're all jaded. I certainly am. Let's spice up a bit. Let's go a little bit crazy. I mean, this isn't like Keeper Patch broken because there's not a bunch of things running in tandem with these. You know, there's not like a Brilliance or a buff or something, you know. Sanctums don't cost 40 less lumber or something like that with this buff. Taurens aren't cheaper. They aren't any better of a unit, you know? They're just earlier and quicker. So there's not a bunch of things, you know? We're not getting a Moonwell Huntress, Archer, Glaive Thrower, Keeper, Alchemist buff all at the same time, which, oh, that just happens to all be in one strategy now, you know? So it's not going to be like, it's not going to be game-breaking, it's just going to be like probably a little bit too strong in particular situations, and it'll probably get reverted, but I'm interested to see the games where people utilize these. Because, you know, sometimes we get patches and it's like, oh, +1 damage to Footmen after they get the defend upgrade. You're like, okay, cool. But it doesn't really change the way the game is played or anything like that. And honestly, if you're changing your strategies around buffs like that, like, ooh, my archers do 1 more damage. Maybe I'll mass archers in every single matchup now. You kind of not playing the game right. You know, it's like, oh, that's not really... That shouldn't incentivize you to play any different strategies, really, when there's small tweaks like that. But these are big enough tweaks that it will actually incentivize different strategies, which I'm a fan of, because it's fun for me. I like seeing everybody suffer. Night Elf, Priestess of the Moon. You guys know I think Searing Arrow is highly underrated. I think it's really good. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's already good. TBH, and I know Neo thinks that Scout Owl is very underrated as well, so Autumn may be an underrated hero in general. It's not as though it's underplayed. Played as a 3rd hero versus Orc. We've seen Sonic playing as a 2nd hero versus what? Human? Undead. It was versus Undead. Obviously played in Elfmere all the time. But Searing Arrow isn't always played. The reason Searing Arrow isn't played is because it's worse than the Orb. And Priestess is oftentimes played as a 3rd hero. And when it's not played as a 3rd hero, when it is played in Night Elf Mere as a 1st hero, Searing Arrow is picked. So this pretty much only affects Night Elf Mere, which is going to make it better against Demon Hunter, which is going to incentivize more Priestess versus Priestess play. So the question is, do we prefer Demon Hunter versus Priestess? Do we prefer Demon Hunter versus Demon Hunter? Or do we prefer Potom versus Potom. Also, if Potom becomes the more viable option and people are playing Potom a lot more commonly, we're going to be seeing a lot more Keeper first, which might even skew the matchup times into Keeper versus Keeper. Just a thought. This would pretty much mean much less Demon Hunter, if it is in fact that strong, which it seems to be not that crazy strong. The mana change is a big deal. The damage change isn't that big of a deal because this would require you to have a level 4 Priestess, right? Because you're going to want to get Aura if you're playing Huntresses at level 3 as opposed to getting Searing Arrow at level 2. But the mana is a big deal because it'll help you conserve Moonwells. I think that's it. Mountain Giant food reduced from 7 to 6. I mean, as long as Mountain Giants aren't double taunting me, I don't really care about this. It's whatever. Chill. Maybe if I was a Night Elf player, I'd be able to tell you the specifics of this. Like, oh, this means you can fit this sort of one Mountain Giant into this sort of 50 supply army, or you can get this many Mountain Giants with this amount of Dryads, and that's really good because then you can two-shot Destroyers. I don't know. I'm fine with it. Sure. Mountain Giants have certainly seen some nerfs. That's fine. Mountain Giant change is pretty big. See, like, I'm sure it is pretty big, but I don't really know the specifics of why. I'm fine with it. Vorpal research time reduced from 60 to 45 seconds. 60 seconds is a long time for this sort of tier 2 research. I'm not sure why this exists. Vorpal Glaives. In what situation are you getting Vorpal? Honestly. I don't know. I don't know what this is for. And who this is for. And where and why. Because Vorpal Glaives obviously is a tier 2 research. So Huntress all-ins on tier 1, you're not going to see this upgrade. Night Elf Mirror versus Mass Dryads? Interesting. Again, can't say I really know. 60 seconds is a long time. Sure. Is it necessary? No, because a lot of the times if you're doing this, you're probably on 2 AOW already. Versus Mass Dryads and Mirror, and that's about it. So does it give you, like, more options with Potom? So this is just... These are all just, like, straight buffs to, like, Potom in Mir. I'm aware of how I say Mir, by the way, you European. Come on. So just straight buff to Potom and Mir, no? And straight nerf to Demon Hunter in Mir. Okay, I don't care. Sure, you guys do whatever you want. You guys do whatever you want. It's your matchup. Do whatever you want. Undead. I'm aware we're taking a little bit of time here, but it's only first round. We'll get plenty of games cast today, and I'll flow TV one game start. Oh, actually, I'll jump in. I will jump in this game. We're in one at least. There we go. Okay. We'll finish this patch notes and then we'll jump into a game. We are in a game. Okay. Night Elf. Undead. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, like, you know, obviously these are way bigger changes than anything I'm seeing over here. The Mountain Giant change might actually have the biggest impact on the actual game itself. These are just Night Elf versus Night Elf things. Arguably. Will Frenzy attack speed bonus reduced from 35 to 30. So does that mean the interval in between attacks? Oh, wait. Attack speed bonus. So that means it reduces the delay in between attacks by this much, right? Is that correct? Is that how I'm reading it? So you are obviously attacking slower now with Frenzy. Is that correct? Got buffed from 25 to 35 last year, and now they're turning it back down to 30. I think that's totally reasonable. Ghouls are played in every matchup, you guys. They're the first unit available to Undead. Don't say Headhunters, because that's not true. Headhunters are the Fiend of Orc. And Fiends have been masked for the entirety of Warcraft 3, okay? This would be the equivalent of Grunts, Archers, Footmen being masked. Ghouls are played in every matchup. Ghouls are played in every matchup. They're very versatile. You can split creep with them. You can take damage on them and send them back home and they heal up. They didn't fix farms yet. I'm still waiting to read the bottom of the building changes, Todd, so maybe. Maybe there's hope. Have they listened? I don't know. Ghouls are played in every matchup. They're viable with every starting hero. They're extremely versatile. There's not really a cap to the amount of things you can do with them, really. They're really good units. They're really good units, and they do really good damage. And they're pretty cheap. And they have a tier 3 upgrade, which makes them viable late game. I know they're hard to use. I get it. I get it. I've played ghouls. I know. They don't feel fun to play. You lose them really quickly. But they're really good. They're really good. This is fair. It's fine. It's fine. Fine. Anyone that's saying ghouls aren't really good is an Undead player. The attack rate of ghouls also impacts wood collecting. No, that is a separate stat. Curse can now target mechanical units. Cripple can now target mechanical units. Holy hell. Which mechanical units are played against Undead? Tanks. First and foremost, yes? Flying machines. Secondly. But flying machines obviously a one supply unit that you can't really... You're never going to have enough mana to really use these things on flying machines unless it's in small numbers. Is there some sort of like Garg Necro army that could be played against human? Is this a thing? I don't know, my brain's going crazy places. But this is the big thing, is this is for tanks. You can leave like a Necro at home, and very similarly to how Night Elf deals with tanks, one facet of that is you leave one Talon at home. You leave one Talon, one Bear, and one Mud Golem, and build like 2 Ancient Wars at each base, which isn't done as commonly nowadays, because if you think about it, one Talon, one Bear, and one Mud Golem, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's too much. So nowadays people are just kind of better at the game, so they don't leave all those things at home. People don't even really get Talons against tanks. I don't think that's necessary anymore. You know, just leave a Bear, have an extra Ancient of War, and just be better. And that's what Night Elf players are doing these days. But this is way better than that. This is way better than one Mud Golem and one Talon and a Bear, because you know what? You already have Frenzy Ghouls back at home, at least 3 to deal with tanks. And now you leave one Necro, and just like that, you cripple, curse, and pull your 3 ghouls with a Nerubian, and the tank is absolutely useless. Assuming you already have a temple, which banshees aren't entirely uncommon. Or of course you would need a banshee and a necro for this, right? My mistake. But you already have banshees. So you'd have to leave one of each. But even like, is the curse even necessary if you cripple as well? By the time the one cripple's over, 3 ghouls are going to kill the tank. But also, you could, if you're already going Banshee, a crippled tank takes 4 minutes and 20 seconds to kill a Necropolis. That sounds like a big number, but I'm not sure. What would it take, like 2 minutes? Oh no, I guess 4 minutes is a long time. 4 minutes is a long time. It's just one tank, right? But, yeah. But Master Necro is expensive for sure. A Banshee might just be good enough. Like, you gotta imagine, 2 tanks, very commonly it's 2 tanks with like 1 or 2 attack upgrades, right? They drop your gold mine, which I'm aware the timing where they're going to drop your gold mine is going to be much before Banshees are on the map, right? So this isn't very, like, you know, this isn't an educated take based on how the matchup actually works, because at the highest level, what these human players are doing is they're building 2 tanks when they get to tier 3, they're putting them in a Zeppelin, they're dropping your expansion, and they're forcing a fight at your expo, and they're trying to kill your gold mine or kill the army, and you're forced into an ultimatum. That's how tanks are really used at the highest level. Are they masked? Sometimes. Fortitude has been doing that, right? But most commonly in this matchup, it's like 2 to 4 tanks. And these 2 to 4 tanks are well before you're ever going to have Curse, and certainly before you're ever going to have Cripple. Right? So this is really the mass tank case that we're going to ever see this. And let's think about this. 2 tanks go into your base. You have 3 ghouls there and 1 banshee. Let's not even talk about the necro yet. You curse both tanks. You pull 3 ghouls. You have a Nerubian. Slow both tanks. Do you even need to react to 2 tanks? No. Are they going to kill anything? Not with repair. Are they going to kill your shop? I don't think so with repair. Are they going to kill any ziggurats? Probably not with repair. Are they going to kill your gold mines? Certainly not. Going to make small amounts of tanks pretty much useless. But the initial tank timing that we see in this matchup isn't going to be affected by this. That's tanks. Flying machines. It might actually be really nice against flying machines in the late game when you have enough banshees and have enough mana. Because a smart human player shouldn't be overbuilding knights. They should be building enough knights, 3, that they can staff all 3 out if they get possessed. So banshees really end up being bots for anti-magic shield and curse on the knights themselves. So cursing flying machines to keep your Destros alive. Pretty good. Pretty good, right? If you have the mana, I don't exactly know how that'd play because sometimes you have like 15 flying machines. And honestly, even cursed flying machines, 15 of them is going to kill all your Destros, right? But could have impact. The cripple thing, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't even know if this is going to be played. Yeah, Necros have been changed so much, I oftentimes even forget that cripple is the master training for them. You remember the AoE Unholy Frenzy? You guys remember that? Necros they've been trying to make Necros work for a while. I think it's good enough for Banshees, but yeah, I'm sure there's lots of players on ladder that lose to mass tanks, and in that case, Cripple's going to be really useful. You know, when you're playing against this guy that just has 80 towers in each base, 3 workshops, is just sending tanks at you the whole game. I believe the game you joined started 9 minutes ago. Yeah, I know. It's alright. It's first round. It's first round. As long as we see a little bit of it. It's okay. Okay. Once this is done, it'll be all casting. So honestly, and then what are the other mechanical units? What are the other mechanical units? Statues in Undead Mirror. Curse doesn't matter. Cripple would matter, but by then you're going to have Destros. Who cares? Meat wagons don't care. Demolishers don't care. Glaives, potentially in like keeper all-ins, but really, are you going to, if you're getting all-in by a keeper, are you going to prioritize having a slaughterhouse to get meat wagons to deal with the APs, or are you going to prioritize a temple to curse the glaive throwers? I don't think so. Tinker level 6 can be crippled and cursed. Very interesting. Who cares? But hey, on ladder, gonna be useful. Something to keep in mind. One of those cool interactions that we might see every 500 games, but interesting. Is there anything else? Redders. Zeppelins can be crippled. FFA, for sure FFA is going to be impacted, but I don't know about FFA. But yeah, Tinker obviously has played a lot more in FFA. Heal Scroll removed from the Tomb of Relics. This is a nerf and a half. Undead has been classically a very turtly race. They sit in their base, they unsummon, they get as big of an army as they possibly can, and then they get items from their shop, and then they move out. Heal Scrolls are in their shop. It's very, very good. It's always been good. They've never had to struggle to fight over heal scrolls. Heal scrolls have always been a luxury that isn't map dependent at all for Undead. They don't have to worry if it's a one-shot map. They don't have to worry if they have map control. They don't have to worry about anything. They just get heal scrolls. Is this necessary for Undead? I wouldn't say Undead is the race that needs heal scrolls the most, right? Say human. and Orc, right? In that order. And then Undead third, and then Night Elf fourth, I'd probably say, right? In terms of priority of needing heal scrolls. Which makes it more reasonable for Undead to have heal scrolls, because they're at the bottom tier of the necessity for it, right? But did any race have heal scrolls in their shop? Should a race have Potion of Vulnerability in their shop? Probably not. Let's see how it plays. Might suck. It's definitely worth complaining about if you're an Undead player. Absolutely. Because your shop's already pretty weak in general. Undead doesn't have the best shop. They don't have clarity, so their heal item sucks. Right? Let's see how it plays out. Worth complaining about. If you're an Undead player, though, probably. Bit out of pocket, Blizzard. Wanted Negation has been added to the Totem Relics, available at tier 2. This is a Dispel, which is so cool. So cool. Now you can deal with Keeper on tier 2. Now you can play around tier 2 a lot easier. I don't know how expensive it is, though. It doesn't tell us anything that I can tell. AoE Dispel has 3 charges. Does it cost like 100? Yeah, but Euskeli's Orb of Corruption, free healing from mana and stat. Undead shop is fine. You hate Undead players. I can see it. I can see it in your eyes, Magma. I can see the hate in your eyes. No hate when you're talking about patch notes, okay? Fnatic, what's up, dude? Thanks for 71 months. No hate. No hate allowed. Keeper, right? What else? I mean, I'm thinking of things like one base tier 2 all-ins versus a human expansion, but I'm not seeing it. Because if you're up against an Archmage, you get a wand, you push with like a meat wagon with frost armor or something on your Lich second. Versus Farseer? Yeah, it's good. Good for sure. But Undead's not really struggling at tier 2 versus Orc. You pick up a Dark Ranger if you're up against FS Headhunters, you just sort of win, right? The Orc has to run away, especially if you have DK3. The Orc has to be the one that's passive. At tier 2, you shouldn't be worrying about the Wolves. Am I wrong? Oh, stops Hex. Oh, that's a great point as well. Yeah, stops Hex for sure. Yeah, that's a big deal. So you almost like sort of blind buy it at tier 2 in case it's a Shadowhunter second from the Orc. How could you go Keeper first versus Undead with 1 in negation? I don't think you can. Yeah, versus Hex, absolutely good point. Versus things like Cryptlord Expos and Undead Mirror. And then versus Keeper's the big one, which is weird because like Keeper hasn't been that common recently at all. So it's just gonna have to be all Demon Hunter. Because there's a big window, a big chunk of time in which the Keeper has value, all the way from tier 2 to tier 3. And that's a big deal for the Keeper because the Keeper is very limited. They only have till about 7.5, 8 minutes in the game before you're like, okay, Destros are coming up now. What am I gonna do with the Keeper? You know, they don't have much time with the Keeper to get an advantage, and now that time is even slimmer. With that being said, though, you need your hero to use it. You can't just leave a Destro at home to deal with Keeper harass. You need your hero to be there, so you probably have to invest in this and a Staff of Teleportation. And if they run by and go for Acolytes, you have to staff back, you have to use the wand in time, etc., etc., etc. It's not as easy as a Destro. But it does, assuming perfect play, it does kind of make Keeper more useless than he already was. And better against Hex, as people mentioned. Better against Farseer. Better against Cryptlord. Better against Dreadlord? No, not really. 1 negation for sleep. Who cares? Better against Firelord first, which has been not crazy uncommon recently. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'd say the heal scroll being removed is a bigger nerf than this is a buff. No, I wouldn't say that, actually. This is a pretty big buff. I have to not think about only happy here, you know. Meat Wagon speed increased from 220 to 240. Sure. Why not? Better against tanks now. Give me more Zeppelin drop Meat Wagon plays happy. Who cares? Whatever. It's fine. Hey, again, I'm thinking, though, the combination of this and the nerf of this. Give me some tier 2 play against human expansions, right? Bring me back to 2012. Bring me back to 2013. Bring me back to the WFZ days. Let me see some wagon pushes versus an expansion. Let me see some one base undead play, you know? Frost from Freeze Breath, lumber reduced from 275 to 225. Sure, this is never played. Worms are never used. I think worms themselves might need a buff in order to be played in 1v1. Who knows? Firelord Volcano building damage factor reduced from 3 to 2. It was destroying buildings. It was way too strong against buildings. This is fine. I can see which tornado speed base and min speed increased from 75 to... That's double the speed of tornado, which if you've used tornado before, it's extremely slow and feels very clunky. Give us some viability. We actually see a lot of high-level Nagas these days. It's more and more common as a second hero. It's a very, very strong second hero, but not as good as some other heroes in the late game. The buff in the ultimate's good. Surprisingly, we don't see any Bladestorm nerfs here, by the way. We're talking about ultimates. Bladestorm... Oop, what did I just do? Bladestorm is way too strong right now. Why is Bladestorm not nerfed? Who knows? Maybe it will be eventually. Who cares? Map pool. Whatever. And that's that. There we go. I didn't mean to do that for 40 minutes, but there we are.